Hi folks, and welcome to part 5 of the Lily Pond Carl. I'm going to cover rounds 1, 2 and 3 in this little video, and then I'll cover the rest of the rounds in separate ones. So we're starting off with Daffodil if you're sticking with the colours in the Carl, and we're one hook all the way through, which is great, so we've got no hook changes to deal with. So first of all we'll do a 4 chain ring, and again make sure that it's your little tail that closes your slip knot, so that if you have any gaping holes you are able to close them before they create you any problems, and then you have to possibly look at stitching things together. So I'll just weave this end in like so. Only that one needs to stay at the back of the way, and then we are chaining 1 to get height for the 8 double crochets that we're now going to put into this ring. So wait a minute, I'm at there, getting the center now. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8. So I'll just snip the daffodil off and weave that end in now using my little method. So we thread our needle, we have the right side of the work facing us. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's the chain. This is where some people's counts can go out. Just thought I'd bring this up as a point, because it came up in a lesson I did at the weekend, and when we're using chains and slip stitches they create a V, and sometimes when we're counting, if we're only counting the tops of the stitches, when we have a slip stitch or a chain, we can inadvertently count that as a stitch when it isn't really a stitch. So that's why it's best to count the posts as well as the tops. So that was just a little hint there. So anyway, we'll finish this round. So needle through front to back under both parts of that stitch, back over into the last stitch that we did to create a false V, but because we don't want to be able to see it, I'm going to pull that quite tight, and then I'm just going to weave this end around so I can crochet over it and get it out the way pretty swiftly. I did find when I did my first square that it's better if you can get rid of the ends as you go around, so you can see where you're going when you're having to work into the back, especially later on for some of the flower petals. Okay, so that's the foundation row, I can't speak, sorry about that. Round 1, and now we're going to start with round 2, and this is where I'm going to show you my new joining method. So using cream, I'm going to have quite a substantial tail because it still needs woven in, but I'm going to put a slip knot on my hook now in the same fashion I would for everything. So my small tail is the one that still tightens this loop, so you have that control. And now I'm going to insert my hook into this ring in a moment, but our first stitch, I believe, if you were doing the method as per the pattern, you would be chaining, but this avoids chaining and also avoids having to do a chain 1 at the beginning of a round as well. So we're trebling 2 together. So yarn over our hook for a treble, insert into the stitch in the previous round, yarn over, pull up. Now we need to keep this tight. Yarn over through 2, but then we're doing 2 together. So to yarn over again for the next treble into the same stitch, pull up 1 yarn over through 2, which leaves us 3 stitches on our hook, and pull through all 3 to complete. And there's been no necessitation for chains in this, so I'm loving this method. So then we chain 2, 1, 2, and we're trebling 2 together into the next stitch. So yarn over, insert, pull up 1, yarn over through the first 2 loops on the hook, leaving 2 remaining, yarn over for the next treble into that stitch, pull up 1, yarn over through 2, so we're partially completing, and then it's yarn over through all 3, okay, and then it's chain 2, and we just need to do this all the way around till we've got 8 petals. So yarn over, pull up 1, yarn over through the first 2, yarn over, pull up another, yarn over through the first 2, leaving 3, yarn over, complete by pulling all 3 stitches through. And then we chain 2. Excuse me, I've just discovered a knot. There, untangled. And by pulling that, I've pulled that chain really tight, so I'm going to do it again. So 1, 2, yarn over, into the hook, into the stitch, sorry. This is where I've joined, which is why it's a toughie. Pull up, through 2, yarn over, another stitch, pull up, through 2, through the 3. Then chain 2, and we'll just keep going around in the same way. And I'll just check my count. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 stitches left. Don't know if I've put that. I'm not sure I've put that in the right place, so I'm going to pull back just to make sure. I think that's the false V. This is why it's always good to count as you go around. That's the false join, that's why it was so tough to get in. Right. 1, 2, complete. 1, 2. Yarn over through the first 2, yarn over through the next 2. Complete. Chain 2. Yarn over. Pull up through 2, yarn over through 2, through all 3 that's remaining. Chain 2. And we'll just keep going, we're nearly done. Chain 2, last one, and I will just check. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 petals. I'm going to chain 1, and then I'm going to finish by creating a chain. So I'll pull that through, thread the needle. So we go into the top where the slip stitch was that we used, through to the back, but don't pull too tight this time. We want this false V that we're creating via this join to match the V's on the other side. So we go down the centre of our last chain and just pull so it's about the same size, and then we need to do the third part of the chain, which is the bit that goes underneath, and so I'll go just up through there and into that next stitch there, and that will give us a nice neat join. And I'll just pull the knot from the slip stitch through to the back so it isn't visible at the front. So I'm going to weave this one halfway around to keep it in nice and tight, because we are going to crochet over it, which means we can get rid of ends as we go, which, believe me, does make life a little bit easier when you're coming around to some of them more complicated rounds when you're creating chains to put petals into them. So I'll just do that one there, and then I'm just going to do the same with the starting tail. and then we'll get the cranberry out and start our next row with the cranberry. And so around we go. And they're both going to come out the same, but it doesn't matter. So that's, and I know there's a few people who have done full trebles, and to be fair, it doesn't. I don't think it's made a huge difference whether you've done 2 trebles or whether you've actually managed to do the trebles together. So I really wouldn't stress about it too much. Okay, folks. So we're on to round 3 now, which is our cranberry round. So again, rather than joining in a space by working a chain, I'm going to put a slip knot on a slip stitch, more the point, onto my hook, and then off I merrily go. So we're doing 4 double crochets into a chain space. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. So the chain space is the space below the chain, hence why it gets called a chain space. We're not putting anything in the stitches above the petals. We're missing that all together and going straight into the next chain space to do another 4. So that's 1, 2, 3 and 4. And we're just doing this all the way around. So this is not a complicated round really. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. Beware of this, putting your hook in there. That is actually the top of the first treble here, and you may accidentally put your hook in there by mistake, but I don't know that it would make a massive difference, but if you can, try and avoid doing that. It's the space in particular that you need to be working into. So that's 4 in there. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3 and 4. 1, 2, 3 and 4, and another 4. 3 and 4, and then I'm just going to complete as I always do. So on the last stitch, pull that yarn through, and because we don't want to be able to see this V, make sure you're in the top of the right one there. I'm going to pull this one tight so we can't see it, and then just weave the ends in like I have in many a video before this. And I will do the same with the starting tail very quickly. Just pull. And that is rounds 1 to 3 complete. When we start round 4, I'll cut all the ends off so you can see it's in its entire neatness, and we'll be back joining fuchsia and continuing at round 4. So I'll speak to you soon. Happy hooking!